I had been a lifelong fan of Godzilla. It feels like it has always been just a part of my kind of pop cultural knowledge. When Legendary came around and said, would I be interested in working on this with Matt? It was like a no-brainer, and there is an opportunity to expand this world, to use television to tell a longer story.
No, joking, like I have Godzilla tattoo. As a fan, it was a chance to write a show I wanted to watch. And to take this challenge of how do we build a meaningful television show in this world that honors and recognizes and exists with the movies, but is a show rather than a film. How do we tell compelling human drama on this crazy big scale?
Hey, Chris and Matt, how are you guys doing?
Great. Hi.
Great. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today on the Movie Podcast, and congrats on the show. It's so cool to be back into the Monsterverse, and you guys are killing it with the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. That means a lot to us.
You've also both have worked on some of our favorite stories, so we're truly honored to be speaking with both of you today.
So you're both big Ugly Betty fans? Is that what you're saying?
You caught us.
Well, where's their tattoo? I'm wearing a sweater right now, so
yeah,
I can show
you can't see your tattoos, so they're all covered up. But yeah, no, we're super grateful. We have to ask both of you, what brought you to Monarch? What was it about this show that you're like, this is our next project?
Well, I can start. It was like I had been a lifelong fan of Godzilla. I mean, it was something I grew up with. Matt and I have talked about this before. If you asked me what the first Godzilla movie or first Toho kaiju movie I saw, I couldn't tell you, because it feels like it has always been just a part of my kind of pop cultural knowledge. And when it wasn't something, like you said, we've both done a lot of kind of genre material, but it wasn't something that I had been pursuing, because frankly, I thought it was out of reach. And then, they were going to go after much bigger and more talented people than me to do this. And then when Legendary came around and said, would I be interested in working on this with Matt? It was like a no-brainer, and it was them. It was really Legendary having the kind of vision and the foresight to say, we think we have, that there is an opportunity to expand this world, to use television to tell a longer story,
to not make 10 small versions of the movies, but to make a sequential 10-hour narrative,
Yeah.
And like that, no joking, like I have Godzilla tattoo. Like that's like very much same thing, lifelong, and the chance to play in the sandbox. As a fan, it was a chance to write a show I wanted to watch, and as a writer, it was a chance to take this challenge of how do we build a meaningful television show in this world that honors and recognizes and exists with the movies, but is a show rather than a film. How do we tell compelling human drama on this crazy big scale?
And we knew we couldn't compete with the movies. I mean, that was like that just from a practical matter, from a budgetary matter, to try and sort of do a TV version of one of those movies every week would be destined to fail. And one of the very first creative conversations I had with Legendary when we were exploring this was I flat out asked, I said, do I have to make this show like the movies? And they said no, which was very liberating, because then
of course,
we could tell the story that we thought worked and not be constrained by what had already been established.
And I think you see that in the episodes that we've seen. It truly is remarkable, but I think at the center of it all is this human story, and a human story that's also taking place where there happens to be a giant kaiju, around. So that's really incredible.
It's not why people go see Godzilla films, right? You go see Godzilla films for Godzilla, right? You want to see the monsters fight and all that stuff. So just by virtue of not having that be the challenge, made it such a rich kind of journey as storytellers to kind of like, oh great, it's not a monster thing, it's not scaled down, let's find these people, let's tell the story of the world and live in the world and get just as fans to exist in the Monsterverse and be in a world where there are Titan evacuation signs posted all over, and planes have disinfectant protocols before you can get off of them, all that kind of stuff. It was It was just a blast to get to work in that world in a way that kind of the films haven't had a chance to.
In the current films, Monarch exists. I mean, they have giant underwater bases and submarines and all the resources and everything you could possibly imagine. And I just personally love origin stories. And so the idea, the opportunity to go back to the beginning, we meet Bill Randa as John Goodman in 1973 in Kong Skull Island, and Monarch is on the brink of going out of business. Like he's coming to Capitol Hill, hat in hand, begging for money. This is his last gasp to keep the doors open. So Matt and I were both like, well, how did he get there?
There's also, there's like, I think 4 shots in the credits of Godzilla 2014 where you see that Monarch was responsible for the atomic tests at Castle Bravo and Bikini Atoll, which is like the largest nuclear test the United States ever did. And it's like, how did they go from that spectacular height to John Goodman begging for a ride on a helicopter?
Right.
But a decline is a compelling, that's dramatic.
Of course. Yeah, definitely.
And we totally respect if you can't talk about this, but we're curious, we've heard that you had the opportunity to also shoot this for the new Apple Vision Pro. And if you did, like, what was that experience like kind of making a show for that?
Well, it's just not true. There
we go.
That has been out there. I'm not sure how that got started. It's been out on the internet on some of the websites. The show was shot in 4K high def digital video, not designed to be viewed in 3D or upscaled to 3D. It would be cool. I would love to see it on an Apple Pro.
Also, don't know how to I don't know. Can they do that? I don't know. Boy, are you asking the wrong guys?
Yeah, the question from Sean Konrad.
Which end of the camera do the actors stand in front of?
Oh, no, great question.
That's a great question. You're also asking the wrong 2 people here, so we're not too sure.
Chris and I have banged our heads on the boom mics that are just out of frame about 1,500 times the last 2 days. Wrong, boy, not the AV Club here.
Well, but in all seriousness, we're excited about the technology. We're excited about the future, what Apple is working on, what everyone's working on, and what the next iteration of the show, if we're lucky enough to continue telling that story, could be. I think the idea of being able to experience our show in a kind of an immersive thing like that would be incredible. It is not, in fact, the way the first season was designed, though. No.
Appreciate the honesty and the transparency on that. But just going back to the show itself, we truly are blown away by what you have been able to pull off this season with this show. We're so excited to see where the story goes, and we're so grateful. And Matt, just on a personal note, your Hawkeye run, one of my all-time favorites. So thank you so much for that. It's just phenomenal. But congratulations once again to both of you. We really hope we could talk to you guys again, and all the best for the rest of your days.
Thanks for having us, you guys.
We would love it. We'd love to talk to you again.